There's never a dull week in Springfield, so let's get right into our Capitol Bureau recap. Dr. Ngozi Ezike, who has led the Illinois Department of Public Health, is leaving on March 14th after leading the state's response to the COVID-19 pandemic over the past 2 years. Dr. Ezike appeared with Governor Pritzker Tuesday to make the announcement and recognize the dedication of healthcare workers over the past 2 years. She said it was an honor to share information with the public and help create policy during her time as director.
I'm glad that I served as a role model to young girls, girls of color, little black girls, that they can be leaders in any field. And I'm proud to show our young boys as well, the future men of our society, examples of women in leadership.
Department Assistant Director Dr. Amal Tokars will serve as the interim director for IDPH while the Pritzker administration searches for a permanent replacement. Now let's fast forward to Wednesday. That's when Mike Madigan, the most powerful man in Illinois state politics, and his close friend Mike McLean, a former lobbyist from Quincy, were indicted on 22 counts of public corruption. The federal indictment states Madigan conspired to solicit and demand jobs, contracts, and other bribes from Commonwealth Edison in return for his guarantee to pass bills favorable for the utility company. Madigan is charged with racketeering conspiracy and counts of using interstate facilities to help with bribery, wire fraud, and attempted extortion. Quincy native Mike McLean is also charged with racketeering conspiracy and counts of using facilities to help bribery and wire fraud. Governor J.B. Pritzker first responded to those reports Wednesday afternoon.
Anybody who is guilty of corruption or corrupt acts in this state should be held to the fullest extent of the law, accountable for their actions.
U.S. Attorney John Lausch says this indictment alleges a long-term, multifaceted scheme to use public positions for unlawful private gain. The indictment also explained Madigan and allies used threats, intimidation, and extortion to solicit the benefits from private parties. House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch chaired the legislative investigation into Madigan's alleged wrongdoing with ComEd. Madigan later handpicked Welch to be the next Speaker of the House, so I asked Welch what he could say to people who considered him too close to Madigan. The current Speaker feels the legislative forum was the wrong place to investigate Madigan.
The proper forum was in a court of law, led by the United States Attorney, and that process is playing out as it should be under our Constitution. And so I think I did my job. I think I did it open, honestly, and fairly, and we're going to continue to do that.
Federal prosecutors say Madigan and McLean were involved in the Madigan enterprise that enhanced the former Speaker's political power and financial well-being. Illinois Republicans are calling Madigan's indictment a dark mark on Illinois' political history, but they say they aren't surprised. Dixon Representative Tom Demmer worked with Speaker Welch during the special legislative investigation. He and other Republicans argue Democrats actually got in the way of the investigation, but now they hope it paves the way for more ethics reform.
Today may be the darkest day in Illinois government history. This 22-count federal indictment against former Democrat Speaker Michael Madigan is the beginning of the power cleaning so desperately needed.
Republicans say the charges mark a change in Illinois politics, one they think might extend to the ballot box in November. The 19 House Democrats who called for Madigan to resign during that investigation also responded to the indictment. This group was frequently criticized by others for stepping forward to call for change in House leadership. Several of those Democrats said doing what is right isn't always easy, but doing what is right is the right thing to do. Representative Kelly Cassidy said they face intense pressure to keep the status quo in the chamber, but they couldn't let that happen.
This is about Speaker Madigan and what he did and to what extent he influenced the culture of this building. The first thing you do when you get cancer is you cut out the cancer. Then you treat what happened afterwards.
The 19 said they're still most concerned with how Illinois lawmakers can restore trust in government. Representative Ann Stava Murray argued people should know their lawmakers are heading to Springfield to do work for their constituents instead of trying to have unyielding power over others. Meanwhile, Governor Pritzker faced more questions Thursday morning about Madigan's indictment. The governor stressed that pay-to-play politics must end in Illinois. Governor Pritzker says Mike Madigan must be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. The Democrat feels the indictment is an important step in cleaning up Illinois and restoring public trust in government. Pritzker said he last spoke with Madigan on March 1st to let the former speaker know there would be changes to the Illinois Arts Council, which Madigan's wife, ironically, has chaired since 1983. The governor said he fully cooperated with federal prosecutors to discuss interactions he had with Madigan in the past.
Ultimately, every person in elective office is responsible for doing the right thing and not lining their own pockets. I'm fully committed to eradicating the scourge of corruption from our political system.
The governor also defended current Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch, who chaired that special legislative investigation. He feels lawmakers were right to defer the investigation for federal authorities in order to make their own case against Madigan. Pritzker said he never had interactions with Madigan outside discussions about legislation moving within the General Assembly. The arraignment hearing for Madigan and McClain is set for Wednesday, and that's the full recap for this week in Illinois state politics. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Militich.